Alright, MA Marignon, turn 36. We're going after a throne that I did not bother to scout. Ooh, we caught a battle between Asphodel and some independents. Nice. This is looking like a thug of sorts. Oh yeah, that's cool. He gets 3 arm slots, ooh, and 2 head slots. Very interesting. Fear helmet, very expensive, very cool. Looks like a defensive-oriented build, which is a little interesting. I mean, considering how much he's invested, defense 24 is good, but not crazy. Okay, he gets increased attack and defense skills from being a hero. A ton of attacks. And then, yeah, he has a bunch of friends here, yeah, that are going to help buff him up. And what's he going up against? Okay, yeah, I think we saw this. Oh, wait, no, this is a throne. Yeah, so we have seen this. Very cool. I think, didn't he try this before? Some sort of thug approach? Or maybe that was Man. I can't remember. Definitely somebody had a bit of a go at this throne. And of course, this is actually, I think, in Fascia's cap circle. So, a bit awkward. Clearly, Fascia, is having some problems. Since people aren't bothering to respect that, and also that Fascia doesn't actually own this throne, which is part of their cap circle. It's always tough to have a throne in your cap circle in some ways, but it's late enough in the game that you really ought to have it. But I do think most, well, no, actually, these sorceresses still definitely have gems. Yeah, quite a few gems actually. Not really seeing any elementals or anything like that, so that's a little interesting. It's unfortunate. I guess these buffers, yeah, wow, fell asleep. Big time fell asleep. Well, I guess they made some bugs, yeah, for cover. So yeah, there's no way they're waking up. And there's just not enough stuff here, including not enough bugs being made to prevent all the indies from getting through. And I do think the Wolf Tribe are going to make pretty quick work of those casters. But this fellow seems completely immune. I mean, he's just surrounded by Vine Ogres, which, aren't great. They have their uses, definitely, but taking down thugs and super combatants, usually not their primary role. So I do think he's going to come away with this, right? He's got the Fear Helm, which will help a lot against the Wolf Tribe. Does he have... Nice, he does have regeneration. I'm assuming that was one of his friends that put it on him. Oh, wait, no. Oh, he's a priest, right. And I think, yeah, there's undead regeneration on Asphodel's Bless. Very cool. And yeah, how many hit points does this guy have? 118. I'd say he's pretty safe, especially since it seems like the sorceresses are mostly just casting, yeah, Panic. Speaking of Panic, some of them are running off, and I think, yeah, independent armies are routed, right? So he gets the overall route. Yeah, very cool stuff. We're not going to love this guy, although, he's got some fire resistance, but yeah, he's not going to love fire, being a, Vine Man, basically. Or I guess, excuse me, a Vine Etten. Asphodel comes away with the throne, very cool. Our Pretender searched on top of a throne and didn't find any magic sites. That is very sad, and then, we missed with a different search, which is a little more normal, and I believe this is probably our battle against the throne. Yeah, and there isn't really much here. In fact, there's no sorceress here, which is interesting. So maybe somebody's been doing some assassinating or some seduction of their own, or sometimes the thrones are on top of disease sites too, in which case the commanders can get diseased. So, I mean, the caster was really the only thing we were worried about. It's a little sad that, gem usage gets triggered, but we have plenty of gems with this force, so not a big deal. Yeah, not sure what happened to the defenders there, but we clean out the little bit that is left without any loss. We do like that. And then, yeah, speaking of Asphodel, here is Archocephali using, yeah, their elephants, and here these elephants do have a little bit of caster support, at least on one of the flanks. So, yeah, we should be seeing some ethereal elephants, which is kind of a classic for Archocephali. What is this? Oh, this is their prophet. Very nice. Probably some attack rear, and yeah, no defense left here. It is cool that they get a Centaur Mage as part of their province defense, so, we'll need to keep that in mind if we do end up fighting Asphodel, that raiding against them is maybe going to be a little harder than some other factions. And I'm not sure what this... Oh, right, this is the Barbarians. Our other attack. Lots of fighting against Indies this turn, so... Yeah, we're curious to see if Solar Eclipse goes off here. I don't remember who actually is scripted to cast Solar Eclipse. We should have a Flaming Arrows coming up. I guess that's the other thing. This may not trigger gem usage, because, I mean, this is a good stack of Barbarians, but we also have a good stack of stuff. Yeah, I'm seeing some Body Ethereal, so it looks like gem usage isn't going to get triggered here. So we don't know whether or not that fellow would have cast Solar Eclipse, because Solar Eclipse does take a gem, so if gem usage doesn't get triggered, he'll just cast something else. And like, yeah, we have a bunch of stuff here. A little dangerous with that falling fire. So, one of the reasons that having fire resistance on your bless is Marignon. Very important. So we may get some friendly fire there. Yeah, we kill a knight. That's just the nature of it, Is it our casters? Is it our crossbowmen? It's hard to say. But, it's okay. We have enough knights. And then it looks like this is really bad news for Ariu. And this is my first that I'm seeing this. So Pelagia, seeing that, Ariu is struggling to finish off Uruk, perhaps, or, maybe just the time is right in general for a land invasion, chooses to attack. And, oh, man, yeah, this is very sad for Ariu. That said, like, this is not that impressive of a force. These wave warriors are not bad. They have, like, decent protection, like, decent skills. This trident deals quite a bit of damage and is piercing. So it's not that, like, these troops aren't a problem, but, like, the lone commander with no bodyguards, no mage support, like, yeah, Ariu can absolutely tear this force up. It's really just more a question of, like, well, Ariu can't really easily, like, counter-raid into, like, Pelagia's land, so of course that's just, the nature of bordering underwater nations. And then it looks like there is a storm in Tianqi by Shiniyama, or maybe he's just just poking his head in. So just, lone Bakemono chief set to retreat, and let's take a look at what Tianqi has in here. He definitely has some stuff. Let's go ahead and pause, because that Bakemono chief is not going to hang out for too long. So yeah, like a line of his infantry, who are fine. Like, these are just pretty average infantry. The tower shield is nice. He has some tigers, like, just sort of more of a desperation summon, like also like griffins, all of which is undisciplined, especially sad for the griffins because they tend to just fly to the back and die. They're actually not like awful units otherwise, and can be really nasty if against like unprotected mages, especially because they go in right away. So it's a double-edged sword. They go in right away, so sometimes you can surprise your opponents, but then of course also they generally don't get any buffs or support. And then grab bag of like one of these dispossessed spirits, and some shades, and then just some of his archers, a few various other summons like Clayman, but yeah, he does have all the mages, it looks like, have gems on them. Very cool. So this looks like a competent defense. He's got a bunch of ogres out in front here. So I do think Shiniyama is going to be able to handle this. They have quite a lot out there, but this is also probably going to, be a bit painful. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens there. And then we have some unexpected events. So some brigands show up, as they do. That's fine. And then, people are being sacrificed in the woods. That's probably just a rumor. And then, we lose some Dominion. I'm not sure where this is. It's not great. But on the opposite end of the luck spectrum, this is actually probably Marignon's best hero, and kind of a little interesting because we're fighting Ashdod right now, sort of. And of course, Rephite Sages are one of the recruitables that Ashdod has, but as Marignon, you can get one as your hero. And he comes with, I think, some Earth access, which of course, because of the throne that we have, isn't as exciting, but he is a giant, and he's not like an old man in robes. I think he's just a giant in robes, but that's still a major upgrade over a lot of our commanders. So yeah, especially considering we're running, quite a full misfortune, a lot of misfortune, definitely. So this is very lucky and a cool find. So yeah, I'll see you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. I have to say I am feeling a lot better. I was feeling a bit down about this turn. So I did finally reach out to Asphodel. And I offered to buy this province off of them for the price of a lantern. I don't do a whole lot of province buying yet, so maybe that's an insulting offer. I was definitely open to a counter offer. They were not interested in that offer. I have played with this player before, and in a previous game, in that game we were also unable to come to an agreement, and it resulted in a very bloody war. They're an excellent player. I thought I had, gotten enough respect that, I'd be able to buy a single province off of them, while we're both vulturing. They get a capital, I get a capital. They're going to come away with more territory than I am. But, they weren't interested. So In a moment of pride, I was going to press the issue. And I do think that, I would be a match. I think Marignon actually matches up decently well with Asphodel. I'm sure we'll talk about that matchup more in the future. So I won't dive into it too much here. But thinking it through, like, they're a really good player. Asphodel raids really well. It would be a brutal war, absolutely, just because the player is good. And, like, I don't need a brutal war right now. It's not worth one province, right? Like, yeah, it's annoying that they're going to have easy access to this capital, but, assuming we can get them to agree to a NAP 3, non-aggression pact 3, they don't strike me as the sort of player that would break that, but, we'll find out. Maybe they would. Certainly, we will garrison Arcos Cephali. But, we just have other things, right? It's like Bandar is a much more attractive target. I think, even with this giant stack on Bandar's capital, this is going to be a way easier war for us to execute than, anything that we're going to get out of Asphodel. I think Ashdod is going to be a much, much easier war for us, than almost anybody, really, almost any of our neighbors, probably with the exception of Yist, simply because they're an underwater power. Possibly some of these players are excellent, and I just don't know it yet. But I do know that this player, is quite good and that the war would be quite bloody. So while I still stand by the fact that, buying this province off of them, they're like, well, I don't give my provinces up for free. And there's a single black harpy here. You just took it last turn. Yeah, I mean, it does have their flag. It is their province right now. Yeah, I feel a little differently, but it's definitely not worth a huge war. So I did communicate that, like, fine, let's fight for it. But, once I cooled off a little bit and thought it through and, just swallowed my pride a little bit, I offered, like, fine, like, you can have that province, and as long as we can have a NAP 3. Now, I haven't heard back yet because, that Diplo just went out. So, we could find ourselves in a war, like maybe, they feel insulted. I can't say. So possibly a war of annihilation with Asphodel shortly. But hopefully that has been averted, which is why I'm feeling a little bit better, because we have much better avenues for this game to go. So we're just going to raid out here, right, and try to grab this province from the Ba with a pretty strong group of knights, right? So if we bump Asphodel here, we'll see a harpy off easily. And, if he's got some stealthy centaur that he breaks off, we're going to hammer those too. His Bless is undead regeneration, which doesn't really help his black centaur. And that makes sense in a lot. Like I said, this player's good, right? The problem with using black centaur for Asphodel is the same problem that the nation has in general. They require gold for upkeep, but you're a pop kill nation, so you run out of gold, right? So their Bless is clearly not focused around the black centaur, and we haven't seen any black centaur in their armies. Now, that said, black centaur are stealthy. Actually, let me double check that. Yes, black centaur are stealthy. They're basically, white centaur, like Pangea's, white centaur, but they're not undead, right? So undead regeneration does absolutely nothing for his black centaur. So I think that we're not likely to see any black centaur. My suspicion is that he's not recruiting them at all, in which case we're probably going to be up against just regular centaur, which, like I said, our knights are going to do really well against, especially in a cave, right? We have Spirit Sight and centaur do not. We will probably have to give this province up as well. It does look like Naba's doing a little bit of foreign recruitment, and I'm praying that they have a little bit of province defense here, right? Because that's going to stop harpy raiding. But, assuming he does have some stealthy centaur in the area, it's entirely possible this gets raided away before we can get to it, in which case we're just going to have to suck it up and, give that up as well. And, of course, further complicating matters, there's a pretty good chance that Bandar immediately moves in and tries to take this province from us. And, just based off of how relations are between myself and this player, not that, I've been disrespectful or they've been disrespectful. They've been completely respectful. At least, insofar as our communications, I think perhaps a little disrespectful, to my skill as a player, but perhaps I have an inflated view of my skill. But anyway, I think that, there's a good chance they're going to take the line of, if I lose this province to Bandar and then they take it from Bandar, well, that's their province now. And at the end of the day, like I said, I think none of this is worth it for us, like, to get involved in a really nasty war, because we have much easier, much better wars we can handle. So, this raid is maybe a bit questionable since there's a good chance we won't hold it. At the same time, like, we don't really need more help. Like, we're combining our 2 armies. We're absolutely going to smash these barbarians, obviously. And I think we're going to do pretty well against what Nabaa has inside as well. And I'll actually probably reach out to the Nabaa player and just let them know, like, hey, I'm going to come in, like, and it's not personal. I just need this capital. We've talked, like, they're pretty checked out of this game. Like, I don't think there'll be any hard feelings there. But I do think that, once we finish the situation with Bandar and once we finish the situation with Ashdod, like, we'll see. Lots of things change, but I do think that Marignon stacks up fine against Asphodel. So we will probably be revisiting this situation. I also think it's going to be relatively easy to convince other people to attack Asphodel. Because people don't like bordering a pop kill nation. Like, people just generally, because the pop kill nations kill the lands that they're in, so people usually like to get rid of them. And, because the amount of troops that free spawn nations can generate, it's usually concerning for their neighbors. And in that vein, I talked with Shiniyama and, was able to get a nap 3 completely. I, mentioned that, hey, I might want 207, and they sort of just didn't respond to that, which I respect. That's a good way to do diplomacy. So we agreed to a nap 3, and we just didn't really discuss this fort. So, it's just going to be a question of, like, well, whoever gets there first. And I'm totally fine with that, right? It's like, race for it. So yeah, this player seems, perfectly reasonable. And, we have this part of our southern border secure now once this war finishes up with Tianqi. I also, raised the fact that, like, hey, Asphodel is pretty big and looking a little scary. And, they agreed that, yeah, it is, Asphodel is kind of looking a bit big. So didn't really bring up, a joint war or anything like that, but they sounded reasonably interested. Certainly I didn't get the sense that, they were working closely with Asphodel. So, like I said, I do think we will be able to revisit this, at a future date and, discuss with lances and swords and fire and sleep vines and probably a bunch of other things that I haven't thought about. Like I said, this player's really good. But in the meantime, that's future. Things are actually kind of peaceful otherwise. I'm thinking Bandar may have lost their thug to this throne, because I was wondering where the defenders went, and then, like, we don't see their thug in either bordering province. So I guess it's possible he sent his thug, back to the capital, but I'm not really sure why. I don't know. I haven't really understood Bandar's plays, so who knows? But it's possible that, Bandar lost their thug. Obviously, they have a lot of forces available, so at any time they could march out. But, we have almost our entire military strength down here anyway. So if Bandar does march out, we should be able to meet that. Otherwise, we're pretty much, pushing around site searchers and doing recruitment. We could have a stack of Anakites, coming for us here, assuming, we are able to agree to a non-aggression pact with Asphodel. Probably Bandar will be our next port of call. I'm not thrilled to expand my border with Yis, but realistically, if Yis eats Bandar, then our border gets expanded and Yis gets Bandar. So better we expand our border the other way, where we eat Bandar. We just need to make sure that we don't lose too much while we're doing it. So that'll probably be our next play. Ariu expressed, a little bit of concern that maybe I'd signed a non-aggression pact with Ashdod and had bailed on them. And I assured them that I had not, but, I was a bit busy, so it was going to be a few turns before I could, really push against Ashdod. And that is true. We are, doing more recruitment. Like, we are definitely still planning on fighting against Ashdod. I don't think just the way this player plays, I don't think there will ever really be a lasting peace with them. Like I said, I did reach out for a non-aggression pact and just never heard back. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is a war of annihilation. Like, we need to remove Ashdod. So I am committed to this, but I don't need to speed it up. Otherwise, full mage recruitment, all witch hunters, no lame researchers, very happy about that. Of course, like, the scales here are still garbage, so we're doing our mix of halberdiers and flagellants, recruiting like a few crossbowmen down here. We're getting our lizard shamans out, which is very nice. We're teleporting our god out to this province, to kind of help with candle spread and also do a little site searching. We also want to site search this throne with him. We won't do that yet. We're not even bothering to claim it yet because I think there's a very good chance that Bandar raids this away from us as well, and we're not quite ready to hold it, so no point, wasting time claiming it. And, like, while the extra, like, conflict bonus for our Dominion and spreading a ton of our candles would be really nice. It's not critical, and we lose 100 gold to turn, so I'm not in a rush to claim this. We will get to it. And then doing a little bit of knight recruitment at home, keeping the Grand Masters coming out as quickly as we can. Our architect is slow walking his way over to Mictlan. And it looks like Phlegra actually chose to jump off this fort. I mean, he's never really going to be able to crack any of these forts, so I'm not really sure what he's trying to do down here. I guess maybe destroy this group of bats. Raiding provinces is never a bad thing. This is cracked, so it looks like there's a significant army here. So, we're going to go check that out. Just pushing scouts around in Ashdod's territory. We want to try to keep an eye on, where the Anakites are. We can see that there's probably a group of Anakites sitting on, this fort of Arius. And then, I don't know what Pelagia is doing. I think this is a mistake. I think I know they're at war with Oceania. And we can see that they're in their cap circle. And Oceania, posted a screenshot of a failed assault, a pretty expensive failed assault. And they also mentioned that they had elf problems, by which I assume they mean Yis. Because this is a problem. Ariu are elves, but this is a problem they chose to have. So considering they're already fighting 2 people, I'm not really sure why they would be doing this. But there they are. So, Ariu is definitely going to have their work cut out for them. And then, of course, Pangea, still not cracked. This is just a very long running siege. We also see Man is active down here, right? And I feel like there's probably a pretty good chance now that Man and Abyssia are fighting, right? And this just highlights, again, Abyssia is a place, we have a non-aggression pact, but we could end it, and, we do want fire gems, and there is a throne right here, so I think probably, Man is looking at this conflict and thinking, here's a pretty easy war that I can take, so, this is the problem of, taking too long with breaking down walls and sieges. And of course, in the same way that Asphodel raids really well, right? This this could be my future, right? All these, flags popping up all over. So, it's tough what Abyssia is going through. So I can understand why it's taking them a while to finish this war out, but it's kind of looking like they may never get the chance, because there's also a fair chance that I'm not sure what Vanheim's up to, but, they may see that okay, now Man is involved, it's time to jump, onto Abyssia. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We are very interested in Asphodel's territory. Like I said, we don't really know where their capital is yet, so we're going to start hunting for that. And then, we're kind of curious to see how big Ulm is. There's a good chance that Ulm also borders Asphodel, so, another possible future ally. And yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 36. All right, MA Marignon, this is turn 37. I believe we are jumping on top of Arcocephali's capital. And then, oh, nice, there's a storm. No, this looks like Arcocephali actually trying to relieve the siege of the capital they've taken, not their own. It's so bizarre. We finished research and construction. Yes, level 5. We still need 6. Okay, so we still have a little ways to go before we can do our infinite money. I am looking forward to that. Our god is teleporting forward to do some site searching and help push our dominion. Looks like someone claimed the Iron Throne. That is a very nice throne. Kind of like this name, but not actually sure who that is offhand. We found a magic site. That's nice. Caverns of Glowing Moss. I feel like that's a fire gem. Probably also a nature gem. Not sure offhand. Let's take a look here at what Arcocephali has got. Yeah, elephants. We've seen this before. I feel like, yeah, he's got one guy here for some body ethereal and such. And yeah, there's absolutely no way. We did manage to agree with for a non-aggression pact with Asphodel, which I am super happy about. It's not a good piece. And yeah, there's the foul vapors. Yeah, so Arcocephali is totally screwed here. And we would be totally screwed, at least in the opening of such a war with Asphodel. Now, we luckily are already going up enchantment, so we're not too far off from the army-wide foul vapors counter. We should have poison ward up, which will help a lot. We have poison resistance in the bless, actually, so yeah, we would be okay, but it would be a little painful to start with. But I just know that this player is pretty good that's playing Asphodel. So we didn't get as much territory as we would have liked, out of this Arcocephali Nabaa conflict. Asphodel's coming away with significantly more, but we should get a capital out of it at least. I have not reached out to Nabal yet. I probably will do that this turn and just let them know, like, hey, we're going to be coming in. So yeah, let's take a look, see if they managed. They killed some stuff. But like, yeah, these carrion beasts, the Centaur warriors, it hurts a little bit. Actually, the Centaur warriors don't have poison resistance, so I'm actually a little curious to see if Asphodel is bothering to put up like any. Yeah, it looks like they are putting up poison ward. Yeah, there you go, poison ward. So it got like most of his centaurs, but like, yeah, a few of these guys didn't get poison resistance, and that's probably what killed them, although maybe the elephants. And poison ward is what we would have access to once we get enough lizard shamans online, which we're working on. Like, we're pretty much there. But nonetheless, we're not quite ready to fight Asphodel, so, very glad that we're not going to have to deal with this. Right, and we are raiding Nabaa. Who's pretty much just has an army sitting in Arco's capital, and I think is, ooh, lordy, this is a lot of PD. And some foreign recruitment. We could lose this. Absolutely, we could lose this. Okay, knights. Yeah, you're supposed to be pretty good. This is our guy with the incinerate stick too, so definitely don't want to lose this. Luckily, we do have spirit sight, right? So we see just fine in the dark. Our protection is much higher, our skills are much better. But these dog-headed fellows, right, they are no joke. Luckily, we clean through the infantry, and the archers, while dangerous, these are just short bows. These guys, I think, are a little more dangerous because they have higher than normal strength. But the knights are strong. The bless is good. I'm liking the bless so far. The lack of shock resistance, like, sure, could be an Achilles heel. But I think it's demonstrating that, like, yeah, right, 14 knights, we lose one, and we clean out 78 units of stuff. Granted, it's only PD, but a stronger PD type. So yeah, very glad that I chose to raid with a decent force there. And then it looks like we caught another step in this ongoing dance between Uruk and Eriu. The pretender coming out solo. Looks like Eriu chose to hang out in, like, yeah, I think this is a hero here. No, sorry, this is the prophet, but he is in the same square, as one of their heroes who, has awe, gets some magic weapons. Not a mage, though. And, like, a ton of crossbows. We're probably going to see some flaming arrows, some furbolg, just some barbarians. Some of they get some kind of chaffy human infantry as well. Kind of similar to Man, actually, middle-aged Man. Quite a few of his sacreds here who, have a pretty strong bless, as I recall. Some of the summoned dogs, a few of his casters. It looks like, okay, Howl is coming up. That is coming from Eriu. So that is going to keep the Pretender busy with a lot of chaff, and the Pretender has not had her kit upgraded, although she did manage to cast Personal Regeneration on herself, so that, that's quite strong. She has a big pool of hit points, and like, she's going to be scary. You can see she's deleting units, absolutely. She does have weakness to fire, although I don't think that's something that Eriu can easily do. Eriu putting up Wind Guide, which is going to be useful with all these crossbows. It increases their precision, so the projectiles are more likely to hit. Air Elementals, of course, full size, always very dangerous. She does have quite good shock resistance. Probably still not good enough, but air elementals actually don't deal like a ton of shock damage, right? Like it is armor negating, so your armor doesn't matter, as is always the case with shock damage. But 17 shock resistance is pretty serious, and I know that Eriu was worried about this Pretender. And like, mirror image, right? That's going to make melee a real hassle against her. Now, the arrows don't care, so we can see that goes down pretty quickly. She is definitely taking some damage. She's also been hit with decay, although her maximum age is so high that's very unlikely to matter, so it's probably some off-script stuff. Or actually, you know what, no, he has decay weapons on his sacred, so this is definitely a situation where, like, decay weapons not really helping Eriu out, although, like, you don't usually get decay weapons, like, for Pretenders. No flaming arrows, sadly, but of course, Eriu doesn't have easy fire access. I'm not sure about how. It's like, the wolves block, right? Like, the air elementals can't even get in, and like the wolves are never really going to do much. It will keep her busy basically forever and reduce his casualties, so I think it's the crossbowmen who are working the health down. So it looks like most of the plan is just, crossbows, which not a bad plan, right? Like, I mean, that's been like at least half of my plan this entire game. Not something you normally expect or see out of Eriu, and like, that does work out. Let's see what actually, finally gets the kill, although like I said, I do think it was the crossbowmen doing the majority of the work, and It's a crossbowman that, you know, finishes her off and gets the kill. You can see the spearman not really doing a whole lot. The dog's not doing a whole lot. Dragonflies, not surprisingly, not doing that much. So yeah, it looks like it was almost entirely the crossbowman. So like, there you go, a stack of crossbowmen. Very scary. You know, I don't know. Did she have air? I can't remember. Let's take a look. Yeah, so she did actually have air, and, you know, I mean, the spell Air Shield, I think, is like level 0. It, you know, Uruk almost assuredly has that available, just must have not had it scripted. Again, Ariu is not really, you know, considered an archer nation for good reason, because they don't really have any archers that they can recruit natively, I don't think. So yeah, all these crossbowmen were foreign recruited, right? So we just found some province with crossbowmen in them and recruited a bunch up, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, you have a stack of crossbowmen. So definitely using something that, you know, isn't part of your national strength can catch people off guard and, you know, can be pretty useful. And so, yeah, that works out really well for you. Wow, they brought a ton of stuff. That was 305 crossbowmen. That is more crossbowmen, I think, than I have, just period. So I'm not sure if that's the most efficient way to get rid of that pretender, and definitely a little risky with that air shield aspect, but it does work out for them, and Lord knows I've failed against many a pretender, so I can't really speak. And I think probably now Uruk is in trouble, because I think that was the main thing that was giving Ariu pause. And of course, we know that Uruk is pretty down to it in terms of territory. And of course, you know, we're getting raided by Ashdod. Here are some Anakites. So yeah, we're going to have to deal with this soon. But this just looks like all the same stuff. Yep, no gear on this guy. Like, that's fine. You know, we have no PD here. We don't really care. I mean, we don't love this, but, you know, it's not a big deal. And then, ooh, this is unfortunate. Okay, so we take down some barbarians in Arcocephali, but then we encounter the sally. So, you know, Nabah was choosing to sally out, and like, yeah, hopefully this won't trigger any gem usage. I do think we have enough gems on here for 2 battles. But yeah, so, you know, the barbarians don't do super well against our combined armies, but this will be dangerous. So we'll see if he's just No, he's sending everything out. But yeah, the glamour, right, that gets popped by our archers, and like, he's just sending everybody in, and there's the solar eclipse, right? So their skills are going to be still good, but significantly worse. And then, you know, of course, we have the Spirit Sight, as always. The Lance Charge is definitely brutal. We do have some guys on Hold It and Attack. I think I was somewhat worried about air elementals. And, like, right, here comes the Fire Magic and, you know, Flaming Arrows. He actually, you know, he might be doing some Fire Magic, yeah, because he has a caster here, and Nabah is absolutely somebody with plenty of fire access. So I'm not sure if that's our Falling Fires or his Falling Fires. Maybe a little from column A and B, but we do have fire resistance on the Bless, mostly, you know, for all the fire stuff we're doing, but it also protects our knights against any fire stuff that they're doing. And like, yeah, we brought a ton of stuff, right? This is almost our entire strength right now. And it's more than enough to take down Nabah. And this is actually kind of a best case scenario for me. You know, I can hit him up, and like, you know, it's not like super cool, but like I said, Nabah was pretty checked out of this game, and we didn't have a non-aggression pact or anything like that. I would have preferred to warn them that we were planning on delivering the final blow, but it is better for us that they chose to sally out rather than us having to, you know, work our way into the gate. And of course, our archers would have done less because of the walls. And then we get attacked somewhere by Bandar, probably by a thug. Yep. Solo doesn't have any friends. I think this is our same guy. It looks like pretty similar kitting, although without his friends to buff him up, you know, this is much more dangerous. Not against our minimal PD, of course, but like, this guy is actually totally going to be killable with our knights, I think. And then yeah, it looks like, just from the game chat and everything, Xibalba actually, you know, bailed. Which, I mean, hey, you never know, right? Maybe some real life stuff came up. I actually don't remember offhand, but we did find a sub. The sub is I've been in contact with the sub just a little bit, and they don't feel very confident about being able to hold Phlegra off. We don't actually have a non-aggression pact with Phlegra, and you know, Phlegra definitely seems like the kind of player that isn't too worried about fighting multiple people simultaneously, because as far as I know, he hasn't signed any non-aggression pact with Ashdod, although I haven't actually asked, so I should probably try to find out. I don't know what this is. A cave cow. Huh. Corrosive spit. That looks kind of nasty. But anyway, I don't think that this is going to take very long for Phlegra to knock out Xibalba, and you know, we do need to right? There's a possibility that Phlegra decides, hey, you know, Marignon is just some pitiful human nation. Like, we can just roll right over them. Good news is, you know, rocks drop on top of these fellows and bronze colossuses just as well as anything else, which is to say not very well at all. It's very inaccurate, and we're going to lose a ton of chaff doing it. But it will work in the end, and then these guys, yeah, don't have great magic resistance, so we'll be able to soul slay them no problem. The Bronze Colossus, I don't actually think you can even soul slay, because it's inanimate or lifeless, or it has a tag. I'm not 100% on that. I'll have to double check, but I don't think you can actually soul slay the Bronze Colossus. So we may have to resort to rocks against these guys as well, but you know, hopefully he'll go out elsewhere. He has plenty of other neighbors. And then, of course, the other thing, too, like, Skelly spam is pretty annoying. Now, a lot of his super combatants are using flight, so they'll be able to fly in and attack the rear here. But without that, like, even this, like, what is this, like 1 or 2 casters? Yeah, so there's 2 casters here making skeletons, which is pretty minimal, but, you know, it's still really slowing these guys down. Now, you know, I do think they're going to come away with it if we just speed this up. You know, they're not quite making skeletons. I mean, I say that. I don't think they're making skeletons fast enough. And you know, the thing of it is, these Gigantes, like, they don't regenerate or anything. Like, they are actually taking damage from the wall archers. The wall archers never run out of ammo. You know, the only archers, as far as I know, in the Dominions universe that don't. So, like, yeah, there's actually a couple Gigante warriors that die there. They do eventually make it through the Helit Axe warriors route, which is fine. So it looks like Phlegra does come away with it there, but it does cost them. Like, yeah, they lose all of their Gigante warriors. Their tyrant survives, so that's good. But yeah, perhaps this conflict is not as hopeless, you know, as it first seemed. And then, speaking of, you know, major battles and possibly hopeless conflicts, you know, here's Tianqi trying to defend their capital with a solid force. Yeah, we saw this before. There was a poke Shadow Blast coming out, a very powerful death evocation. It does take some gems, and of course, like, just some random garbage flying into the back. Wooden warriors, very nice. It's a fairly wide protection buff. Sending the garbage in first to soak up the evocations, which is cool. Speaking of garbage, here comes the ogres. You know, a little bit holding attack, perhaps like too long, right? Because now Shiniyama is through the gates, and of course, you know, they do outnumber Tianqi. We have Solar Eclipse up from Tianqi, which is interesting. I'm not sure if they have much of Spirit Sight. Howl, also from Tianqi, I think a really good choice here, and Light of the Northern Star, also from Tianqi. So, like, yeah, excellent, like, mage support. He's got some battlefield-wide buffs. Yeah, he's got some guys possibly on advance and cast spells here. So really cool stuff, right? Of course, the wolves are going to keep, you know, a lot of units busy in the back, and I think there's some routes. Yeah, these Bakemono are numerous, but cowardly. However, the Dai Bakemono, I think, will probably carry the day. Falling Fire is very powerful. Like, yeah, we'll see. It's totally possible that, you know, Tianqi is able to turn this around. I don't think that it's going to change the outcome of the war, even if Tianqi is able to win this. But, you know, the longer that Tianqi can hold out and keep Shiniyama busy, probably the better for me. Probably, unless Asphodel chooses to attack Shiniyama. Because, yeah, one of the things Asphodel mentioned that, you know, they were a little bored with this game, which is another reason that we really don't want to fight, because we're not bored. We have plenty of enemies and, you know, things to be doing. So, you know, I think Asphodel is looking for their next target, and we're really kind of hoping that they look, you know, maybe towards Man, right, like far away from us. So go the other way, Asphodel. But, you know, this is looking like a very bloody battle. And it's still not impossible that Tianqi comes away with this. Of course, now their archers have run out of ammunition and are engaged with the Dai Bakemono in melee, which is not going to go great for them. They just have a short sword and like a little bit of protection. And of course, like, their skills are going to be really awful, you know, in the darkness as well. So I think, you know, Tianqi was just looking at it like their main damage dealer is going to come from their spell casting, right? And so, like, the more that people are just fumbling around in the dark and not connecting in melee, the better for Tianqi. And they had quite a few archers as well, which they do get reduced precision in the darkness, but once you just have, like, you know, 50 or 80 archers, it's like the arrows are going to land somewhere. So it's like if they're a little more wild, it usually doesn't matter too much. And yeah, Dai Bakemono here are actually retreating. And yeah, it says the armies of Tianqi are mostly routed, which is unfortunate. So whoa, some Dai Bakemono got back here. Not really sure how that happened. Maybe they're just chasing some wolves. There's probably been some mages that have routed off for Tianqi. So I think even if Tianqi is able to pull this out, and it's kind of looking like they're not going to, because there are, so these Dai Bakemono must have been in a couple of squads, because some of them are routing off. But some of them are still fighting, so very good use of like multiple squads. Yeah, armies of Tianqi, it still says mostly routed, but I think, you know, we can see all the battlefield globals have gone down here. And I think that's going to be it for them. So yeah, a really good defense, I would say, by Tianqi. But it doesn't work out for them in the end. So let's take a look at what it cost Shiniyama. Yeah, let's see, a lot. 202 units out of 357. Now, a lot of that is these Bakemono shows, right, which are cheaper than normal and pretty easy, I think, for them to replace. And then, you know, good chunk of the rest is Bakemono warriors. But he does lose 40 Dai Bakemono, and that's pretty painful, right? Those are 25 gold apiece. And it looks like they actually have dark vision built in, so maybe solar eclipse was not the best idea. Did the Bakemono also have dark vision built in? So yeah. You know, maybe it wasn't the best idea that Tianqi cast Solar Eclipse, and I'll definitely have to keep that in mind since I've been casting Solar Eclipse. Let's see, Shiniyama also loses just a couple of shamans here, Bakemono shamans. That's fine, you know, 80 gold. This is probably from Howl, like the wolves. But yeah, and another caster here, so a little more expensive, but still not too bad from a mage standpoint, but still an expensive win. And then, you know, of course, Tianqi loses everything. And then we have some unexpected events. Nice, we get a group of adventurers here, and they said they're seeking the fabled riches of the Mountain King, which sounds intriguing, so we may need to do some earth site searching around here. We do still have a fire site out there possibly roaming around. We have done some searching in that area, but anyway, you know, more sites to search from. Sometimes one of these is a healer, which would be super nice for us, so we'll have to take a look and see if we got lucky with our adventurers. And then we have an unexpected event in Arcocephali. A fertility cult is present here as well. So it looks like there's already a fertility cult here. We probably will patrol this out since we have an army here. We can't patrol yet because we don't actually own the fortress. But, you know, we've started to destroy the walls, severely damaged, so we should crack it next turn. And then let's see, another unexpected event here. Very nice, 10 air gems. We like that. So pretty lucky, all things considered. Let's see, a worldwide event. People's Deathmatch. We may try to send a paladin to this. We'll have to send one right away. No, we're not going to send a paladin to this. I would like to, you know, participate more in these arenas, but yeah, we just really haven't been ready, and we have no gear forged for our paladins. So I think it's very unlikely that, you know, we're going to be able to take down some of the Phlegron thugs and super combatants that we know are out there. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, if you've won the arena, you have to come back to defend your title. So I think that means that one Phlegron tyrant who won the Champion's Trident will be present for sure in that arena, and there's no way one of our paladins is going to take him down. And then it looks like Ariu gets attacked in Uruk immediately by just, you know, some random stuff, but these sea dogs are not going to like, you know, 305 crossbowmen, so yeah, I think we know how that works out. And then we find a Mictlan Scout, not too relevant. We finish a castle. I think this is on top of the throne, so that's very nice. We'll probably start going for a citadel this turn, and I will catch you guys after the cut. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. Continuing the siege of Arcocephali. We should crack it probably next turn. Let's take a look. Yeah, severely damaged. So once that's finished, our army will be free to do whatever it needs to do. Possibly go against Bandar, possibly go against Ashdod. We are getting attacked a little bit by Ashdod, but it doesn't really look like they're coming in against us hard. And then, yeah, forever don't know what Bandar is doing. But he does have his thug out here, right? And so there's a decent chance that he comes after us in this province where we're trying to do some site searching. We are moving our healer hero out, so she is very valuable, definitely not worth risking. But we are bringing in a small communion, so some witch hunters and then a grandmaster who will be trying to do some soul slay, as well as like just, you know, a few of our knight raiders. So the knights aren't going to do great, but they'll at least keep the thug busy for a little bit. In that vein, we're going to throw a curse out as well as a swarm from one of our lizard shamans. So hopefully, if he comes here, we'll take him out. This is a pretty valuable province, so we would like to hold on to that. Otherwise, kind of a quiet turn, just pushing around site searchers, recruiting, a few knights in the capital. We're actually recruiting a paladin. We probably want to start mixing more paladins in. They are pretty expensive. But they're going to be decent counter thugs and decent thugs, so we might try like some paladin raiding groups, maybe like 5 knights on guard commander, maybe give them a brand. Unfortunately, like we don't really have much in the way of water magic, and frost brands are probably the most efficient item. You could do fire brands, and we definitely do have the gems for that, so we'll see, but they're more expensive. We also might try to just leave them ungeared, right? And that's, with 5 Knights of the Chalice and the Paladin, like that'll be a pretty decent raiding group. They'll chew through chaff pretty quickly. Otherwise, Witch Hunters, where we're able to, like still the same stuff in Mictlan, like yeah, we haven't really made a dent in these scales. And then, full recruitment on our border, and we are, moving up our crystal mages as soon as we bring them in, just in case, we do have to drop rocks on Anakites, and continuing, to do some of our site searching here, getting our nature site searching started. And yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 37.